Well, good evening. We're glad each of you are here. My name is Greg Ferris, and as President of the Forney ISD Board of Trustees, I do hereby call this meeting to order. A quorum is present, and this meeting has been posted in the time and manner required by law. The monthly meetings are open to the public. Although these meetings are public, comments and questions from the audience will be confined to the time designated for citizens to address the board. Again, I want to thank you for attending tonight's meeting. I do now call it to order at 7 p.m. As we begin tonight, as part of our welcome and invocation, I'd like to welcome Stan Britton. Stan is the pastor of the church at Buffalo Creek. Stan Britton has served as pastor of this church and been married to his wife Lauren since 2004. They have 4 sons and a daughter, which is their newest addition, Hannah. And we're glad to have her, and she's been with you now for about a month? 7 weeks. So that's their newest adopted daughter. Stan has been involved in vocational ministry since 1998, including serving as student minister at First Baptist Forney from 2005 to 2008. The church at Buffalo Creek adopted Lewis Elementary in 2018 by offering support to students and teachers in various ways. The church has also provided Sonic drinks to every campus in Forney ISD over the past 3 years. The church has been involved with parents and faculty and staff and have representatives in over 10 of our Forney ISD campuses. We're thankful to have Pastor Stan with us, and the members of Church of Buffalo Creek is a member of Forney ISD family. So Stan, if you would, come to the podium. If you'll all join me, he'll lead us in our invocation.
I do want to say thank you to the board and to those members of Forney ISD and our opportunity to be a community partner with you. Thank you for allowing us to come alongside and serve faculty, staff, and students. It's an honor for us, and we're grateful for it. Let's bow for prayer. Our Father, we are grateful for today, the day that you've given us, and a day that we get to celebrate life and use the abilities and gifts that you've given us. Lord, we thank you for a gathering like this where we get to make decisions and cast vision to impact students for future generations. Lord, we need your wisdom, we need your guidance and your care to effectively make those decisions and lead this district well. God, I'm thankful that our church is able to come alongside and support those families in need and to support these students, faculty, and staff as they impact the next generation. So Lord, lead and guide our time tonight. May it be honoring to you and bring you glory in the furthering of your kingdom. We pray in your name. Amen.
Thank you, Stan, for your remain. Christopher's going to lead us in our pledges.
I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible.
You may be seated. Thank you. We'll be moving on then to item 3. That was item 3. Item 4, recognitions. We'll have our Forney Family Legacy Award, and at this time our presenter is going to be Ms. Kristen Zastapul. She'll introduce our Forney Family Legacy Award recognition tonight.
Good evening. The Forney Legacy Award is given to an individual or group of students, staff, or community members. Is this on? Oh, there we go. The Forney Legacy Award is given to an individual or group of students, staff, or community members who have exhibited servant leadership over time and a long-standing history to Forney ISD and the Forney family. Recipients have made significant contributions to Forney ISD. We are honored to be presenting Skeet and Leah Phillips and Cheryl Mason with the Forney ISD Legacy Award for their dedicated service and work with the Angel League that serves so many of our Forney ISD students. Their work with the Angel League epitomizes what this award is all about. From the student groups that are learning important life lessons, such as empathy, compassion, and the importance of giving back, to our Forney ISD families whose lives are richly blessed by being a part of the Angel League. They are truly making a difference in the lives of students and their families. Before we invite them up to accept the award, we'd like to share a little video honoring them.
I've known Cheryl and Leah for a long time, but our connection specifically with them and this is, they came up with the idea for the Angels League. It was perfect for our family.
They've been very influential in making sure that the community recognizes all of its members of the community, including children with special needs.
Our family met Leah and Cheryl at the ballpark. One of our friends had invited us, telling us about this league, and said, "Oh man, you've got to get your son involved in this." Cheryl and Leah are phenomenal with the kids, and so when Jason was about 5 years old, we went, tried it out, and just really fell in love with them and the league.
Well, a little backstory of Zane. He was born at 23 weeks and was in the hospital the first 9 months of his life. He was born at 1 pound, 4 ounces. The wedding ring could go over his hand. Came home after 9 months with a ventilator. Just had a lot of problems being in the hospital so many times. We tried to put him in sports. We put him in soccer with other kids his age. We had some amazing coaches that were very patient with him, but he just couldn't. It just wasn't right for him.
The Angel League for us has been like a lifesaver. It has given us the opportunity to have a place where Jason can come and play baseball.
Having an opportunity to go out and just be a kid, be accepted in a sport type environment.
Having a visual impairment and Down syndrome, he's not able to play baseball on like a youth league or go out and be on a select team. But the Angel League has provided him the ability to be able to use a beeping ball. The beeping ball actually allows him to be able to see the ball to where he can hit it because he's able to use his hearing. And so I know when we first started that we didn't have a beeping ball, but because of Jason's visual impairment, Cheryl and Leah were able to find something to help him to use, his abilities to be able to hit the ball.
So when the Angel League came, it was like God sent. There was no pressure, no practicing. The other parents weren't getting mad. He just got to go out there and have fun and hit the ball and laugh.
It's really a heartwarming experience. You get in there, it's just a lot of fun. Kids have fun, the parents have fun, and it's just a great place.
They don't want anyone to not get to do something, not get to play baseball or not get to play in the Angel League.
It blew me away. Like, I could not believe I could do that. Like even though I was little back then, I still could not believe that I could hit a home run.
It's about new friends.
They're deserving of this award because they stepped up and did something. There was a void out there. There's a void for these families. There's a void for these kids. And they stepped in and filled it.
They have tried to also bring our community together through the Angel League by including different teams through our Forney family, through our school district.
When somebody just opens up their arms and loves on you the way they do, it makes a difference.
So at this time, we'd like to invite the board down, and we'd like to invite Skeet and Leah and Cheryl and your family and friends and our Angel League families up to take a picture and help us congratulate them.
Congratulations.
Thank you all for being here tonight. If you feel like you need to leave, this is fine if you want to leave. I know you don't want to listen to all the rest of the business, but you're welcome to stay, but you don't have to. Thank you for all you do.
Thank you.
We'll move on to item 5, which is our public forum. I don't believe we have anybody signed in. Do we?
Larry, I don't think we do.
Okay.
No, sir.
Okay. No, thank you, Larry.
Sorry.
All right. At this time, no one wishes to address the board. Then we'll move on to item 6. Item 6 is our reports. Next will be our monthly financial report. And Mr. John Chase will be our presenter at this time.
Thank you, Mr. Ferris. As you know, our fiscal year ends on June 30th of every year, and so this report that we're delivering tonight is the end of our fiscal year. So this is pretty close to what our audited financials will look like in October when our auditor presents those to you. We still have a few adjustments that we'll have to post through some expenditure and estimates and things like that we still have to get in the books, but for all intents and purposes, what you see tonight is pretty well where we're going to end the year at. So just to start off with, the revenues for the month is $14.4 million, and the reason why that number is as high as it is there's a couple of things. We get to recognize our July and August state aid payments in the month of June. So that revenue number that you see in the state column is pretty high. Plus, another resource column there, we have some proceeds for a Chromebook lease that we just entered into. So when you add all that together, you get that $14.4 million of revenue for the month. On the expense side, we have $6.2 million that we've expended. So the year-to-date revenue recognized was $85.9 million, or right at 100%, just slightly under that, but it rounds to 100% of the amount estimated. Year-to-date expenditures was $88 million, or 94% of the amount estimated. So I know 94 seems like somewhat low. You'd think it'd be more in 97, 98, 99 range. As you know, we had several projects this spring and summer that we were doing, a lot of in the construction nature. Those projects were budgeted in this fiscal year, but they won't be completed until this fiscal year that we're now in. So those funds, some of which are getting reappropriated tonight in the budget amendment, there'll be a couple others that we'll include on the budget amendment for September as well. Moving on to the debt service account, this one's pretty straightforward. As you know, all the activities was pretty well concluded in February when we made our large debt service payment, but we still are collecting revenues in the form of tax collections. We had $115,000 for the month. We did have $1,000 of expenditures, and those are paying agent fees and things like that we have to pay through the debt service account. Year-to-date revenue recognized as $21.1 million, or 102% of the amount estimated, and the year-to-date expenditures was $18.7, or again at 100% of the amount estimated. So finally, the cash and investments on hand at the end of June in the combined food service, general fund, debt service, capital projects was $66.8 million. I mean, all that sounds like a lot. As you recall, in this past quarter, we did sell some bonds for those additions to the schools the 4 elementary schools that we're working on right now. So that capital project number is pretty high at this point, but that number will start going down when we start making our large cash payments to the vendors as the construction progresses. So that's the financial report. If you have any questions, be happy to answer them.
Thank you, Mr. Chase. Have any questions from the board? I hear no questions. Thank you very much. We'll move on then to item B, quarterly investment report.
Again, this is something that we do every quarter, just looking at our investments that we have for the district, our cash balances, and we don't have anything that's real exotic here. I mean, we either have money deposited at first of all, we have $67.8 million in cash and investments on hand at the end of June. And that was either on deposit at Citibank or one of 3 investment pools, as you see there highlighted on the left-hand side of the page. The interest we earned on that it was as little as 1.1, which is on demand deposits at Citibank, or as high as 2.5%, which we got in Texas Class or Logic. And then the total interest income that we earned on all funds for the quarter was almost $367,000. So that's the investment report. If you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
Thank you very much. You've heard the quarterly investment report. Do we have any questions from the board? Hearing none, we'll move on to item C, fourth quarter tax collection.
And this is the final quarter for the year on tax collection. So just real quick, as you know, we've said this several times, but our total levy for the year was $62.2 million. As of June 30th, we collected $61.2 million on the current levy, which is a little over 98%. When you can look at the historical averages, we're at 98.7%, so we're real close to where we usually are at this same point in time in our collection year. We did have a large amount of delinquent collections this year as compared to prior years. We had just right at $1 million. Our average has been around $800,000 over the last 5 years. We had a lot of ag rollback property that was assessed for the year, so that would drive up that number quite a bit. And we've talked a lot about what ag rollback is, so I won't spend a lot of time on that. But if you express the delinquent tax collections as a percentage of our current levy, it's like at 1.6%. And so when you combine the delinquent tax collections with the current collections, compare that to the total levy, we're just over 100% collected for the year, which is really good. And then finally, again, we pointed out that we had a large positive adjustment for those ag rollback taxes. But we do have, at the very end of the report there, we do have $1.9 million of outstanding balances, and that seems like a lot, and it is, but just keep in mind there's a lot of that is our ag rollback. We will be getting that, and in this following year, some of those, they're not, I don't think, officially delinquent on those ag rollbacks until maybe after this fiscal year closes out. So they have a certain period of time in order to pay them, but we'll get the money. Most of it's related to developers and things that are moving stuff into the residential property type. So anyway, that's the quarterly tax collection report. If you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
Thank you very much. Do we have any other questions from the board regarding that? I hear none. Thank you very much, John. I appreciate that. And that 1.6% of that's a very low number. Glad to see that number.
Say that again?
At that 1.6, that's a great number to see there.
As far as delinquent tax collections?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah. Most of our taxes are, as you know, are in escrow accounts because people are taking out home loans, and so on our current collections, we have a really high current tax collection rate around here. And other districts that are more mature probably don't have as good a tax collections as we have, so we're pretty fortunate here.
Yes, thank you for that. We're moving on then to item D, which will be our Forney Focus Update. Ms. Judy Weber will be Chief of Learner Services, will be our presenter at this time.
Mr. Ferris and school board members, I'm always very excited to give you an update on what we've been doing over the last few months. We have a lot of exciting things to show you. There's some different things that are in there this time. So without further ado, I will get into our video presentation that recaps the work we've done. Where'd it go?
Summer is halfway over, and we are now in full swing planning for back to school. There have been a lot of good things happening since our last update, so let's get right into it. First, the 2019-2020 budget was approved in June along with the district-wide pay raises ranging from 3 to 9% on average. Starting teacher pay has increased almost $7,000 over the last 7 years, with 2019-2020 starting salary at $51,600. Employee pay has previously increased 2.5% to 3% annually for the last few years. In addition to the new compensation plan, the property tax rate for Forney ISD homeowners is projected to lower by 7 cents in 2020 due to the new House Bill 3 legislation that recently passed. After studying the growth and needs of the district over multiple meetings in April and May, the Innovative School Facilities Planning Committee recommended that the Forney ISD Board of Trustees call a bond election for November 5th, 2019. The broad and diverse 60-plus member committee reviewed demographer data predicting the district will grow over 70% in the next 10 years to over 18,500 students. The package includes adding capacity at every level, from pre-K to secondary, college, and career. Early voting will be held October 21st through November 1st, 2019. Election Day will be Tuesday, November 5th, 2019. Forney ISD has had the same $1.54 tax rate since 2012 and has not called for a bond in 9 years. If voters approve the bond on November 5th, the tax rate is projected to lower by 7 cents to $1.47. In our Information and Innovation Circle, we launched a new website in January. The full transition of campus and department pages was completed earlier this month. Forney ISD now has a mobile app that launched this month as well. To download the app to your mobile device, just search Forney ISD in all of the app stores. Forney Family was launched last August with staff and has slowly expanded into our community. OurForneyFamily.com, social media, mailers, banner stands in local businesses, yard signs, and much more are being shared with the community. This is an ongoing branding and marketing campaign for Forney ISD. Forney ISD rolled out our new district-wide advertising plan, and sales for ad spaces have begun. We are selling ads for athletic complexes, fine arts, website, mobile app, and staff newsletter. Synergy and esports continue to gain momentum. On May 31st, Synergy student, now graduate, Josh Gridley, served on a panel at DreamHack. The esports team also competed playing Smash Brothers. Out of 9 other teams from the DFW area, they made it to the final round and were featured on Twitch, which is like the gaming version of ESPN. In preparation for our first esports event, Synergy students visited the largest esports arena in Arlington, Texas. Esports has grown to be a $900 million industry, and nearly 200 U.S. colleges offer around $15 million per year in scholarships. In our Learner Services Circle, we have been in preparation for the opening of our intermediate campuses. The K-6 campus libraries have been packed up and rotated. On March 29th, Forney ISD moved 10,000 books. This would not have been possible without our incredible media specialists, Forney High School and North Forney High School coaches, and our student-athlete volunteers from FHS and NFHS, led by Lead 20 seniors. Capturing kids' hearts is capturing our district in a positive way. Already, 200 teachers have been trained. Additional trainings are coming up for all Forney ISD employees. Forney ISD is hosting Exploring New Depths, the 2019 Summer Professional Learning event. This is an opportunity for teachers to learn more from their peers. AP Last Blast. On Saturday, May 4th, students from FHS and NFHS came together to collaborate on last-minute questions before starting AP testing. Teachers were on hand for technical support, but the sessions were student-driven. Our Human Services Circle has been busy over the last year implementing the district-adopted Love You Guys Foundation standard response protocols for emergency response and the standard reunification method. We developed a community-wide collaboration with our first responders, which strengthen our relationships and ensure the most efficient responses if any emergency crisis were to occur in Forney ISD. The Safety Committee set goals and recommended implementing certain programs to better support our students, ensuring a safer community. Security officers were added to our high schools to assist administration with safety and security measures. Also, updates to entry access using card readers and upgrading our security cameras have provided a more secure environment on our campuses. On May 16th, over 225 Forney High School and North Forney High School 2B seniors participated in Lead 20, Forney ISD's Student Athlete Leadership Summit. Our students were joined with head coaches and dozens of community leaders to help raise the bar for the 2019-2020 school year. Forney ISD had a great year in sports. Forney High School softball made a return trip to Austin to defend their 2018 5A state softball title. After an 11-inning marathon, Forney was defeated by Angleton. FHS softball program was presented with the National Federation of High Schools Spirit of Sport Award by members of the UIL at this year's state tournament. North Forney girls basketball and soccer teams reached the regional quarterfinals, the farthest advances by girls sports at North Forney High School. Every girls and boys sport at NFHS competing in District 13 5A made the state playoffs this year. FHS senior Bracy Vaughn medaled at regional track meet at UNT and competed in the UIL state track meet in Austin. All Forney ISD coaches will be trained this summer at the 9th annual Forney ISD Summer Coaching Academy. They will receive all state-mandated training, and they will also receive Forney ISD local training and instruction in best practices from Positive Coaching Alliance and more. Jacob and Kimberly Martinez were honored at Forney ISD Character Coaches of the Year for the 2018-19 school term. They also served as volunteers for 5 sports programs across Forney ISD as well, supporting kids and coaches all the way from North Texas to Austin. Brown and Warren Middle Schools completed their inaugural season of junior high soccer in May. The community came out and supported the 7th and 8th grade teams for 5 games against area schools. Warren and Brown got a chance to play each other at the high school fields. This has been another Forney Focus update.
This really speaks to the hard work that this team right here and many of the people out here have done, making our district an amazing place. Is there any questions that you guys have?
Any questions from the board? We covered a lot of information there. Thank you, Ms. Weber. We appreciate that and the video you put together. Moving on to item 6E.
Summer is halfway over, and
I thought that was your lead-in music. I just thought you had lead-in music or something. Moving on into master planning update here, Ms. Kim Horzak, and she has all the answers to all of our projects in motion.
Thank you, Mr. Ferris. Actually, this time I'd like to call it Von Gallagher. As you know, we have 8 different construction projects going on throughout the district, and Von and his team have been working very, very hard to get them ready for the school year. Made some great progress. I'm going to let him share kind of where we are in each of those projects. Mr. Gallagher?
Thank you. I'll just give you a brief overview before we start looking at the pictures. Things are going really well. Things are moving quickly. We couldn't do any of this without the efforts of the ISD staff helping us along the way, helping us with decisions, helping us get things out of the way, helping us figure out what to do with things, coordinate things that are taking place where we've got furniture moving and construction going on and all those things, and everybody just collaboratively does it together, and it's awesome. Same goes for the city and the county, with us getting inspections when we need them and things done in a timely manner. You know, we awarded this project in May, if you remember. That kind of puts things up against the wall. That was kind of a me decision. So based on that, it makes things move a little quicker and hectic. The group, Huckabee's been great giving us answers. I definitely don't want to stand up here and take credit for my guys and gals. They've done a phenomenal job getting things done. But basically the short version is that this week everything will be punched and then will be completed by next week. Most will be done by Monday. There may be a straggle item here or there. We have 2 or 3 items that we're waiting on to come in, but there's a replacement item in their way, so it'll never be known. So all in all, things are well, things have gone well, and I think you'll see from the pictures kind of where those things are. Here's Smith and Ray. You can see the learning stairs, the hub. We've just got the one item we're waiting on. We added some nurse's office millwork, so it's coming in day after tomorrow, and it will be completed by Monday. More additional views of that. I know that several of you have seen it, but it's advanced quite a bit since the last time. Crosby, Lewis, Blackburn, Henderson renovations. Those are going well. That's been quite the coordination process with getting groups to be able to work on all 4 projects at once and trying to schedule them. And we've got 4 job superintendents pushing, and they're only worried about their job, which is exactly what I want them to do. And so we have to do a little mediating along the way, which is working out really well. And it's 4 jobs racing each other, which is also good. This is kind of more of those pictures that you can see. These are the additions out back as well as the parking. The additions are coming along. Obviously, the focus has been inside the facility to get the renovations done as well as the parking. The drive at Henderson will be poured tomorrow, so that's a big item that we needed to get completed before school starts. The additions you'll see coming on, with those being storm shelters, there's more items and there's more steps to be checked off along the way because you have to have the certification so it is certified as a shelter when you're done. But a lot more meetings, a lot more checklists, a lot more inspections, which is all great. It just makes the process a little more slower, as well as the type construction does as well. So you'll see the focus switch onto that as soon as school starts back and everything's cleaned up, but there won't be any issue with getting those completed as well. Some additional pictures of the exterior. We tried to hold off on pictures and take them at the last minute because things are changing by the hour out there. So when you drive by in the morning, it probably won't look like anything like what you saw tonight. The last 2, Criswell and Johnson. Criswell has probably been our biggest challenge. We've encountered some load-bearing block walls that required some structural steel to be in place to be able to complete that work. Took a while to get a solution that would work inside that facility. Then once the solution was determined, then we had to get the steel to put it up. All that work took place over this last weekend. What's left is a very small area, and now it's basically a finish out job. So by this weekend, it'll be almost there. So that's really been our biggest challenge, if you will. On Johnson, we've kind of decided on some additional work and some additional drains as we work through that. It's been a good process. Again, the district maintenance staff's been great to work with to try to solve those issues best that we can. Our plan is to have the asphalt poured back where we cross the parking lot this week and cleaned up and then turned over after this weekend. Any questions, or that's kind of the quick overview. Any specific questions on anything or anything you've seen or comments?
Questions?
Just one, Mr. Ferris.
How are we doing on return to school and how we're going to impact the kids coming back?
That will be when these areas are turned back over. We'll have the paving done and the drives done and the fences up, and all that'll be set up in place so that it'll be business as usual from day one. So it's good for us to have this summer because we were able to relocate water lines, electrical lines, and things that needed to be to keep the disruptions down. So we think we've got it all set up now so it won't be problematic. There'll be something that happens, I can tell you as I stand here, there'll be something that we do that'll cause a disruption here or there, but we've planned to avoid all those that we possibly can, so I feel good about where we are with all that.
Thank you.
Sure.
just add to that, Mr. Carroll. Our teachers come back Monday. We did have a few extra days with the movers. They were able to move a little faster on the front end than we thought. So they'll be coming in to help us get some of the furniture back where it goes a little quicker for our teachers next week as well. So.
Any further questions?
Mr. Ferris, if you don't mind, I just wanted to take a minute just to thank Vaughn and his team. And I can't, it's amazing to watch the work that they've done in a 2-month time frame. And his guys are just incredible. They're literally working 7 days a week right now as fast as they can. Thousands, hundreds of thousands of square feet that they renovated in 2 months. And they're going to put us in on time and under budget. So you can't beat that. So thank you, Vaughn. Appreciate it.
Mr. Gallagher, I'd like to say thank you also. I know we're not the only project you have and the only school district you work for, so we appreciate your time and always seeing your face around here, keeping us on budget and on target. So thank you so much.
Appreciate it very much.
Move on to our consent agenda, which is next, item number 7. 7A is approved minutes from the June 24th, 2019 Facilities Workshop. 7B is approved the minutes from the June 24th regular board meeting. 7C is approved the T-Test appraisal calendar and the T-Test appraisers for the 1920 school year. And then 7D is approved budget amendments. 7E, approved contract with Donahue Pizza to deliver pizzas to the secondary campuses for the 1920 school year. 7F, approved the adoption of the 1920 student code of conduct. 7G, approved the adoption of the 1920 extracurricular code of conduct. 7H, approve the PCAP property and casualty insurance renewal. 7I, approve the innovative courses for 1920. 7J, approve the resolution of the 1920 cafeteria benefit plan. 7K, approve the instructional material adoption for 5 through 8 ELAR and SLAR. And 7L, approve the school bus purchases. The board may take action on them individually, or if you choose, we can approve them collectively. What is the motion of the board?
Mr. Ferris, I move that we approve the items on the consent agenda collectively.
Mr. Johnson makes a motion to approve collectively. Do I have a second?
Second.
Ms. Green? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? And I hear none. Thank you very much. Moving on to item 8, consideration and possible approval of the certified tax roll. Mr. John Chase, our Chief Financial Officer, will present at this time.
Thank you, Mr. Ferris. Yeah, as you noted in the background information you guys got in your board packet over the weekend, we did not get our certified tax roll. The official copy actually came in today, but just to give you the long and the short of it is our certified value that was sent to us by the Coffin County Chief Appraiser is $4.6 billion and some change there. That's a 13.1% increase over the prior year certification. However, there still is $227 million that is under protest right now, which represents another 5.5% of our levy or our value. Excuse me. If you discount that by about 10%, which is pretty typical, that would put our actual certification or our actual tax roll in August after they run through these final protests. It'll be around 18.1%. So real close to what we budgeted on, which is 18.7%. It's slightly under that, but it's pretty close. That's not enough to really cause us any problems. Would point out the new value on the roll is $250 million, $255 million, and that's about 6.2% of the total increase. And so, if there's not any questions, our recommendation would be that we approve or accept the certified tax roll as provided by the Coffin County Chief Appraiser. Nancy's got a form here for all of us to sign tonight. Should you guys approve that? And we'll need to send that off to the county tax assessor collector in the morning. So if there's any questions, I'll be happy to answer them.
Thank you, Mr. Chase. Are there any questions from the board? I hear no questions. Dr. Terry, what is your recommendation?
Mr. Ferris, Board, I recommend we approve the certified tax rolls as presented.
You've heard the motion. You've heard Dr. Terry's recommendation. Do I have a motion from the board, please?
Mr. Ferris, I make a motion that the board approve the 2019-2020 proposed tax rate as presented and recommended.
Thank you, Mr. Carroll. Do I have a second?
Second.
Mr. Andrews? Have a motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Any opposed? And I hear none. Thank you very much. Moving on to item 9, consideration and possible approval of the 1920 proposed tax rate. Mr. Chase?
Just to give you a little background on the process, as you know, back in June we adopted the budget, and at the time we told you that that budget was developed assuming that the board would adopt a tax rate of $1.47, and that would break down at 97 cents on maintenance and operations and 50 cents on interest and sinking. Now that 97-cent maintenance and operations rate, it's actually down 7 cents. As you know, House Bill 3 has compressed the tax rate to 97 cents this year from $1.04, and would point out that the interest and sinking tax rate of 50 cents has been the same for the last several years, and we're not proposing that we change that at this time. So, prior to the adoption, you know, we post we had a notice posted in the paper, and that was all. The information that was in that public notice included preliminary values that we received back in April. Now that we've got the final values, you know, they've changed a little bit over what we had in preliminary, but not a lot. But we will post another notice in the paper with a date and time of the public meeting to discuss that tax rate, and then it's got to be posted within 10 days, before 10 days or no later than 10 days or from when we actually have the meeting, and it can't be any earlier than the 30 days. So anyway, I've got it later in the presentation. The date we'll have it posted in the paper. Just to, one other thing I'd point out is on the tax rate of 50 cents that we'll be levying, we will be collecting excess tax collections as we have in previous years. In the last 3 years that we've done this, we've taken this opportunity to use those excess funds to repay callable debt and save our district interest in the process if we had just waited until it was actually maturing to pay that off. And so we still think that that's a prudent thing for us to do with our tax collections is to retire that debt as early as we possibly can. And so as soon as we propose that rate tonight, assuming that's what the board's wishes are, we'll go to work with our financial advisor and determine exactly what the best use of that $4.1 million is, and present that plan on September for that resolution to be adopted at that time. So just would point out again, our tax rate it is not changing, and it will be that debt service rate regardless of whether we approve the bond election it passes or fails. That tax rate is going to be the same in either instance. So just wanted to point that out. So just real quick, just the public notice that's going in the paper. Again, the first section there just shows that there's 97 cents on the maintenance tax rate and 50 cents on the debt service rate, assuming that's the wishes of the board tonight. When you looked at the taxable values, when you compare just down in the taxable value line item, from the 4.8 million to the 4.1 million, that's about an 18% increase, which is what we've already discussed that. A new value again is $254 million to almost $255 million. It's about a little over 6% or so of the total. So that's the certified or the appraised and taxable value. Moving on to the other parts of the notice, with our bonded indebtedness, the actual bonds that we have outstanding to repay the principal outstanding is $287 million at this point. And then down in the next section, we look at what our tax rate was in the previous year and what we collected as far as state and local revenues, and then what our proposed rate and what we will be collecting in the state and local revenue at those proposed rates. And if you do the math and add the top section there, the $5,800, and add that to the $3,800, and then come down here and do the same math on the proposed rate, we're going to get about $580, a little over $580 or so a kid more primarily because of House Bill 3. And so that's about a 6% increase in revenues for the year. As far as the average market value, what that does, and the tax rate associated with that, last year our average market value and taxable values are presented there. Just looking at the average taxable value last year, it was almost $207,000, and now it's going to be $223,000 is what our average taxable resident market value or taxable value of a residence is. You compare that with a tax rate last year of $1.54 and a tax rate this year of $1.47. This year, that average residence will be collecting just under $3,300 in tax collections, and you compare that to what we collected almost $3,200 the prior year. So we're at 96. It's going to be about a $96 dollar increase for the year on an average taxable value. So. That's the comparison of the tax levy. And then finally, on our fund balances, our maintenance fund balance, our unassigned fund balance is projected to be about $21.5 million. Our interest and sinking funds is projected to be about $20.9 million. We do have about $15 million or so of debt service payment that we do make in August, and so that fund balance in debt service, while it looks like it's a lot, it's really not. Whenever we make our August payment, that goes back down to around the $4 or $5 million. So that's the notice that'll be in the paper. We'll have that hearing. It's scheduled September the 9th. We'll be posting that notice on August the 22nd. And again, if it's the board's wishes, it'll be a total tax rate of $1.47 is what we propose that we put in that notice. If you have any questions, I'll be happy to answer them.
Thank you, Mr. Chase. You've heard the proposed tax rate. Do you have any questions from the board? I hear none. Dr. Terry, what's your recommendation?
Thank you, Mr. Ferris. It's always nice when we can bring to you a lower tax rate. That's 7 cents lower than the previous year. That's great for our community. At the same time, I just want to reiterate something Mr. Chase said, and that was throughout the bond election and upon a successful bond, that tax rate will not change. It will remain at $1.47 even through a sale. So we're looking at $1.47, and we're excited to bring to you guys to adopt this moving forward for this school year. And I would recommend approval as presented by Mr. Chase.
Board, you've heard from Mr. Chase and Dr. Terry. Do I have a motion?
Mr. Ferris, I make a motion the board approve the 2019-2020 proposed tax rate as presented and recommended.
Thank you, Mr. Andrews. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Johnson. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? And I hear none. Thank you. Moving on then to item 10. Consideration and take possible action to adopt a resolution declaring certain unimproved real estate property consisting of 15 acres more or less located adjacent to North Forney High School at 6170 Falcon Way, Forney, Texas 75126 surplus, and authorizing lease of said real estate property to Kaufman County with the option to donate at the end of the lease term to carry out the purpose that benefits Forney ISD under Texas Government Code 272. This time, Kim Morzak, Chief of Information, Innovation, and Technology Services, will be our presenter.
Thank you, Mr. Ferris. Board, as you know, currently we serve a very large area, and only a small portion of that is served by the city of Forney. Huge amounts of our district is served by the county. And what we're proposing is a 25-year lease to Kaufman County to provide a substation adjacent to North Forney. So as you can see on the map here, this is North Forney High School. We own the land to the, I guess that's west of North Forney, all the way to the road. And this small 15 acres right here adjacent to North Forney is where we're proposing we provide a lease to Kaufman County. We feel that by placing a substation in this area, we really can increase safety and security for our students. It will allow a place for the Sheriff's Department, the constables, Department of Public Safety, and other police officers to go and have a place. In addition, there be a sub-courthouse there and classrooms where our students could take criminal justice classes and further their education through our CT program. So we're really, really excited about this opportunity to increase safety and security in the northern portion where we have very high density. A lot of our Forney families live there. So at this time, I'd actually like to ask County Judge Hal Richards to come up. I believe he wants to say a few words on behalf of the county this time. Judge Richards.
Thank you, Mr. Ferris and members of the board. Thank you very much for, I'm really excited about what y'all are proposing here. I have to apologize to Dr. Terry. I told Dr. Terry earlier that I would only speak about 30 seconds. I realize that's not possible, so, but I will try to keep it short. Kaufman County is the third fastest growing county in the United States by percentage. Not in Texas, but in the United States. Certainly, much of that growth is occurring here. This brings about the need for us to be innovative and make a lot of changes. We are rapidly becoming an urban county. Certainly, much of that urban growth is occurring in your district. The highest priority for Kaufman County is to make our citizens safe and make them feel safe. In order to do that, it's very important that we look to the future and make sure that we have our resources, not just law enforcement, but all of our resources closer to where our citizens are. So I've been in public service on the city council and as a mayor for a long time, and I've always advocated for partnerships like this because we share the same residents and we share the same taxpayers. And anytime we can find a chance for us to do something together that makes good common sense, we need to sometimes be a little creative in how we work together as separate government entities. So I'm really excited about this. I see all sorts of possibilities, not just for a law enforcement component, but for other things right there in this really great location. So in the coming weeks, I'll have a chance to present this to the Kaufman County Commissioners Court. I'm sure that it's going to be extremely well received and really looking forward to mapping out exactly what that's going to look like. Certainly a big part of this is Sheriff Brian Beavers in the Kaufman County Sheriff's Department. Of course, we already partner with Forney ISD with our resource officers. And if I could, I'd like to ask, we have 3 of our Kaufman County's finest with us tonight. Sheriff Beavers is in a conference, supposedly, hopefully learning more stuff about all this new growth that we have. So I'd like to ask Chief Rodney Evans if he would come up. We also have with us Sergeant Martin and Lieutenant Freeman. Y'all probably know them. If y'all come up, I'd just like to introduce them. And somebody said that maybe we would take a picture. Is that true, Dr. Terry? Mm-hmm. Okay. That's the end. That's not 30 seconds, but it's not 30 minutes either.
Thank you. We will get to a picture if you guys want to come up for a second. Just to summarize, this 15 acres is a 25-year lease with an option at the end of the lease to either extend the lease or donate that land to the county. It's $1 a year at this point. And we feel that this is a great benefit to Forney ISD and our citizens to provide added security on the north side of town. So it is our recommendation that we lease 15 acres of land to Kaufman County. Okay. I can answer any questions at this time.
Thank you, Ms. Morzak and Judge Richards. Do you have any questions from the board?
Mr. Ferris?
Yes.
It's true, too, that this facility won't have any cells or detention, correct?
Yes, sir. It's actually written in the lease that there will be no holding cells or detention at that location. It's adjacent to a school, so we felt that was a good idea as well, sir.
Mr. Ferris, I just had one. Judge Richards, I know this is the first step of many to bring this facility, but what is your vision on timeline? What is your goal?
Well, we too are discussing, and we've not announced a bond election, but we're proposing this facility would be part of a bond election that the commissioners haven't acted on, but we probably will be doing that soon, and that would be a November bond election. This actually is going to answer your question about what that would look like. This is going to be really more of an office building than anything else. Certainly, they'll have workstations for deputies, and there'll probably be an investigator or something stationed there, but it'd be more like an office building. So I'm thinking the construction cycle won't be too long. I'm hoping 2 years, 3 maybe, that it would be up and building. It should not be a very complex building at all. And of course, we'd work with Forney ISD as far as how it fit into the land, and you know, so it'd be a good fit for y'all as far as appearance and that sort of thing.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions? Dr. Terry, what is your recommendation?
Mr. Ferris, I just wanted to tell Judge Richards and Sheriff Beavers have been great working through this process. It's been an excellent collaborative effort, and just reiterate the need for more partnerships and how much we appreciate this opportunity to really engage together to provide additional safety and security for not only our kids in our schools, but our community. So thank you guys for working with us on that. And so I would recommend that the board approve the resolution declaring certain unimproved real property consisting of 15 acres more or less adjacent to North Forney High School tonight.
Thank you, Dr. Terry. I'd like to thank Judge Richards, and I appreciate your leadership and your strategic thinking to partner with us, and through your leadership helping us get to this point. So do I have a motion from the board?
President Ferris, I make a motion to approve as presented.
Thank you, Mr. Regan. Do I have a second?
Second.
Ms. Dobbs? I have a motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? And I hear none. Thank you very much. We'll all come down here to the front. I think Mr. Coker wants to take a photo.
Everybody just kind of circle around them. Thanks for that. You're right. All right, we're good. We're all good. Don't wait.
Moving on to item 11, consideration and possible approval of the donation of real estate property to Forney ISD consisting of approximately 12 acres located in the Oakland Grove, a development in Kaufman County. Ms. Kim Borsak will also be our presenter on this one. Ms. Borsak?
Thank you, Mr. Ferris. Board, you'll recognize this picture. I just showed to you a couple minutes ago. This is a outline of our school district. And as you know, we currently have future school sites in 3 of those 4 quadrants. Up in the top left-hand side is our new land, the new site across from Criswell. The top right-hand side is Devonshire. We have Gateway on the bottom right, but we really didn't have any land sites over on the bottom left-hand quadrant. And I'm excited and very happy to let you know tonight that we have been offered a land, 12 acres in the planned community of Overland Grove. As this map will show you, it's the site's right there, kind of on the front side of the, or actually I guess it's the back side of the community. This is a really nice site for us for the expansions of homes on that side and our growth that's coming in. close to Johnson and Claiborne, which are both filling up very quickly. So we are asking tonight for the authority of the superintendent to negotiate and sign the donation contract for this property of 12 acres in Overland Grove.
Thank you, Ms. Morzak. Any questions from the board? Dr. Terry, what is your recommendation?
Mr. Ferris, like Kim said, this is a great site for us in the future, and I'll tell you, Wynn Jackson have been great partners throughout this. We've been working on this for a while now, and it's exciting to bring to you a recommendation tonight to allow me the authority to go finalize this deal and this donation of 12 acres in Overland Grove. So I highly recommend that we approve this tonight.
Board, you've heard the presentation and Dr. Terry's recommendation. May I have a motion?
Ferris, I move that we authorize the superintendent to negotiate and sign the real estate donation contract as presented.
Thank you, Mr. Johnson. Do I have a second?
Second.
Ms. Green? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? And I hear none. Thank you very much, and we appreciate the donation. And I think we have some guests here that we'd like to take a photo with, so we'll all come down here to the front again.
Yep, we have with us tonight Michael Jackson and Frank Murphy from Wynn Jackson Development. So I'd like to invite you up to join in a photo.
Nobody wants to take a picture. Nobody wants to take a picture. Hey, I'll take a picture. Thank you again.
This could be a golf course too? I thought I'd heard that.
Michael, do you have a card? I think I gave you my last one. I did, I'm sorry. Scott, I don't have a.
No, this is not list.
No, you're not.
Think I'm moving in.
Yeah. Thank you very much. We appreciate that. Moving on to item 12, consideration of possible approval of TASB policy, local update 113 as a first reading. Mr. Rick Gear, Chief of Student Services, will present.
Thank you, Mr. Ferris and board members. Update 113 wasn't too bad this time. I anticipate probably after next month or maybe in October we see something with a little more length to it. But this one wasn't bad at all. Tried a little bit different format this time. I'd love to have your thoughts and input. We sent you the video and the board brief as well as the vantage points, and so we'd love to get some feedback from y'all. Instead of me going through the length of all these policies, what I would like to do tonight is kind of point out three that I think that could have a significant impact on the board and on the district as well about how we conduct procedures. The first one is actually BJCD, which addresses the superintendent's evaluation instrument. They deleted a lot of information that dealt with the objectives and specifics and gave the district a little more flexibility in kind of developing the instrument. I think it really is in line with what we do as far as our teachers go, our principals, but it gives you a little bit more flexibility. In the vantage points,
There actually is a link to what's called the Leadership Team Services to give you some suggestions about possible formatting of that evaluation. The next one that I'd like to bring to your attention was policy EFD. This policy was actually deleted. It dealt with students and field trips. A couple of options that we're looking at that is under review is that whether or not we put some of this information into administrative regulations out of FMG local, which deals with student travel, because there is some information in there, or that we can put them in just procedural, which would be in our student handbook. So we have a group that's actually looking under that review, and so probably next month we'll bring that recommendation to you. The other one was FNF, which we saw probably the most drastic change. There was two major points of FNF, search and also in our drug testing program. The searches really was clarifying information to deal with case law and really just what is best practices. So there was a lot of information that was changed and added in that as well. The drug portion, our random drug testing, was deleted completely. A couple of options that we're probably going to put that into an administrative reg. We've already been working on that draft, in which we'll share that with you as an informational next month. So a lot of changes in that. TASB recommendation was to pull that out of policy and to put it into admin regs. So that's what our plan will be. I'll be glad to entertain any questions if you have for anything to do with Update 113 at this time.
Any questions from the board?
Just one, Mr. Ferris. Because they've removed it out of all these policies, our admin regs, we still bounce those off TASB, correct?
Yes, sir, we do. Yes,
okay.
Sir. TASB has a resource manual, which they give you suggestions on different formatting and part of the procedures. So once we do our admin regs, we always run it by TASB for their kind of a stamp of approval and recommendation.
Does our council also review those, or just TASB?
Just TASB currently. If we have a question about something that we maybe not totally agree with what TASB's recommendation is, we'll run it by our attorneys.
Okay, thank you.
We have our representative, her name is Brooke Knudsen with TASB. She's actually, just giving you a FYI, she's doing an audit of our policies in October. And so not sure when the last time that was actually done. So we're looking forward to maybe getting us, looking at some of that and going over that and reviewing that, make sure we're in line with everything. Okay. Yes, sir. Well, if there's not any questions, then I'll make a motion that the board approve TASB policy update 113 as a first reading.
Thank you, board. If there's no further questions, I'd like to ask Ms. Tier to please move this to the consent agenda for adoption at the September meeting. Thank you, Ms. Tier. Moving on then to item 13, consideration and possible approval of TASB policy local DNA as a first reading.
Well, at this time, I would like to ask Dr. Jonathan Campbell, the principal of Forney High School, to the podium. Dr. Campbell will give a brief presentation for the board's consideration on the revision to local policy DNA, which governs the evaluation of teachers. And before Dr. Campbell begins, I'd like to say thank you to him for him kind of bringing this to the campus leaders. He created a committee which they reviewed, edited to make this suggestion, then presented it to our central office. So I wanted to thank Dr. Campbell for his initiative on that.
Board members, Dr. Terry, thank you. You all see before you this first read for DNA local. I guess two big things that really popped up for us, the committee, the other building principals. One, this really benefits our seasoned veteran teachers. So the teachers that have been teaching with us for at least 3 years or more, somebody that has been with us for a while, this really helps them take a break from that formal observation. But they're still required to go through a goal setting at the beginning of the year, the student learning objective. They must also have 2 walkthroughs, and then of course also complete the end of the year conference too, where we talk about things and see how it goes. Also too, with that, if there is a teacher that we see through the walkthroughs or other avenues that, you know what, maybe we should go ahead and do a formal observation, at that time we can pull it back at any time with the waiver that you also see there. So we do feel like it's a good option for us and a good, strong way to build some trust among our veteran teachers and with the administration. And then on the other side, with the administrators not having to observe every single teacher, we're now able to spend more time working with the teachers that maybe are struggling, maybe are new to teaching, just allows us that opportunity to further enhance their teaching abilities. So if you have any questions for me, or if you'd like to go through some of this, feel free to let me know.
I don't hear any further questions. At this time, then, we'll ask Ms. Tier to also move this to the next September board meeting and place it on the consent agenda. Moving on then to item 14, consideration and possible approval of additional 1920 personnel units. Mr. Gear, Chief of Student Services, will continue on.
Thank you, Mr. Ferris. As we're monitoring student enrollment counts, it appears that some of our campuses may have enrollments which justify an additional physical education aid position approved. The ratio that's been established as a standard allocates a PE aid at the elementary and intermediate campuses once they have a total enrollment of 700 students. We've exceeded this ratio at both of our intermediate school campuses at this time. And we anticipate reaching this threshold at 3 of our elementary campuses. And by taking this proactive approach, this will allow our campuses to provide for sufficient supervision needed for student safety. Also, since 2016, 1 in 4 students has required special education services due to the new state requirements. The special education population has increased by 461 students since 2016, which is a 45%. We must meet the special education requirements designated in each student's admission, review, and dismissal committee, which is referred to as the ARD committee. So there's a need for that as well on 2 of our campuses. When we developed our 2020 budget, we used a 10-to-1 staffing ratio. Adding 7 additional positions will drop us a little bit below that 10-to-1, but we are well within TEA's acceptable standards. The estimated financial impact of adding these 7 instructional aides is $164,500. Our plan is to transfer these funds that originally budgeted for capital improvements to cover the cost of these additional personnel units. The administration recommends adding these 7 instructional aides to the 2020 staffing plan as presented. If you have any questions, I'll be glad to entertain those.
Thank you, Mr. Gear. Any questions from the board?
Just one, Mr. Ferris. Is this based on what you're seeing on attendance that's showing up through the summer through registration?
Yes, sir. The ran accounts this afternoon right before I stepped in here, and our 2 intermediate campuses as well as exceeded. They're both over 900 currently, and we have 3 to 4 that are kind of battling right now. It's still real early, but we see and project that these 3 additional positions of PE aides will be needed at least 3 of our campuses. Maybe more than that, but at least 3.
Thank you.
Any other questions? I hear none. Dr. Terry, what's your recommendation?
Mr. Ferris, I recommend approval of the new personnel units as presented.
Thank you, Dr. Terry. May I have a motion from the board?
Mr. Ferris, go ahead, Ms. Green.
So moved.
Ms. Green makes a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Mr. Carroll, thank you very much. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? And I hear none. Thank you very much. The next item is number 15, a closed session. 15A is consultation of attorney pursuant to Texas Government Code 551071, attorney consultation. 15B is deliberation regarding the ratification of employment of professional contract personnel pursuant to Texas Government Code 551074, personnel matters. And 15C is conduct quarterly evaluation of superintendent pursuant to Texas Government Code 551074, personnel matters. At this time, it is now 8:16 p.m. and we'll be dismissed into closed session. No voting will take place. Any action taken there will only be taking place back when we reconvene into open session. Thank you. Moving on, it is now 8:55 p.m. and we'll call this meeting back into open session. Moving on to item 16, consideration and possible approval regarding the ratification and employment of professional contract personnel. Do I have a motion?
Mr. Ferris, I make a motion to approve the contract personnel as discussed in the closed session and recommended.
Thank you, Mr. Carroll. Do I have a second?
Second.
Mr. Andrews? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? And I hear none. Thank you very much. Number 17, consideration and possible approval regarding the quarterly superintendent's evaluation. As discussed in closed session, there will be no action taken at this time on this evaluation. Moving on to item 18, announcements. The first announcement I'd like to share with the board and everybody is Miss Barbara Jo Green has been accepted to Leadership TASB. So she will be joining that this next school year. So she'll be a great representative for our students and our families and all our administration, but it'll keep her busy as she'll have a few extra meetings throughout the calendar year and it lasts all school year. So do you have your calendar yet?
Yes, I do.
When's first meeting?
When we're here for the convention, and then the next real teaching meeting will be in November.
November. Good. Well, thank you for doing that and giving your time. Moving on then to calendars. Tuesday, August 6th. Don't forget convocation. It's at 8 a.m. Any special instructions on that, or we'll get those later?
Yes, sir. If you don't mind, can I just walk you through the 6th?
Yes.
8 a.m. to 9 a.m. Is a breakfast. I'd love for you guys to be there to greet if you're available. 9 to 11:15 probably will be convocation. And then we'd like to invite everyone back to this room right here for a luncheon. We've reached out, you've got an email on this, we've reached out to the city and invited them and their leadership team to join us for that. And then just to socialize a little bit, build some rapport, and then to go do a little Forney family outreach into our community, if you can, for an hour or two in that afternoon, till probably 2 o'clock maybe, and we'll go into small groups into our businesses, and that's kind of the plan for that day.
Okay, so if you can participate in some of that, that would be great. If you can't be at the meetings that morning, if nothing else, if you can get a lunch break, run up here and have lunch with us. We appreciate it.
Yes, sir.
Then on August 12th, Steam Fest, you'll see information about that. August 19th, first day of school, the back to school bash. Watch your emails and social media about details for that too. August 27th, Ray dedication there, so you'll get details of that. August 29th, then we go over to Smith and have their rededication. And there'll be some special presentations at that, so we hopefully will have 100% of you guys there. And then on September 5th will be our next regular board meeting. That is on a Thursday, so be sure you have that on your calendars for that September 5th board meeting. No.
Yes, sir.
So it is now 8:58, and I'll call this meeting adjourned.
One other thing too, guys, two other things just real quick. August 22nd, I think I received consensus from everyone that would be an okay date. So if no objections for a board workshop, I'm going to reach out to Walsh and make sure that they can attend, and then I'll get that information out and confirm that, if that's okay. And then finally, you guys, there's a little booklet of things right here. These are positive mind, positive vibes, positive lives. 100% of the people in our district staff will receive these this year. And so we wanted to get those out to you as well and encourage you to empty your ring. So if you find somebody exhibiting a behavior, just want to tell them thanks or pass on an affirmation to one of our staff members, we'd love for you to do so. And we're asking you to empty your ring. We'll get you more. And hopefully yours gets filled back up as well, because that's the goal. All right? Thank you, guys.